All right, we are recording.
I don't use my laptop at the
Whitman DPW Building Committee meeting. I guess I should say who's in attendance. What's today's date? September 26th, 6:30. In attendance, Dennis Smith, Dave Cook, Bruce Martin, Mary Beth Carter, Dan Salvucci, Kevin Cleary, attending as members. All right. I guess I'm going to defer to Mary Beth and kind of give her a status where we're at with a lot of numbers flying through the air. Obviously, we're still from last meeting where I'll say 2.2 short. It was about 3.2, call it 3.3 for easy math. Dennis found just under 1.1 in some articles projects that are done. So we're at that little over $2 million delta. And Mary Beth and Frank have been working diligently to try to come up with alternate funding sources besides debt exclusion.
Okay, so I do show the current shortfall at $3,288,760. Dennis went through all old articles and culled together 6 of them for a total of $1,143,271.15. I ran all this by bond counsel to see if we were able to transfer all those balances into an article for the additional cost for the DPW, and yes, we're able to do that. The second piece is I went over all the ARPA numbers and everything that we plan to do with ARPA, and I feel that we can take $2.2 million if the board is amenable to that, the Board of Selectmen, to use. And we can't use it towards the DPW building project, according to Plymouth County ARPA. However, what we are able to do is use it towards a water project or a sewer project, and we just so happen to be wrapping up working on the sewer force main project. So we can use the $2.2 million towards the sewer force main project and then not borrow $2.2 million from the Clean Water Trust. So the Clean Water Trust, we had a loan authorization for $12,898,480. To date, we have requisitioned out and received $8,755,184. So the question was, do we have $2.2 million in costs left to be paid on the sewer force main project? And as of last Friday, I think Dave, you talked to Environmental Partners, Andrew.
Partners and Dennis.
And Dennis.
Talked to Ziad again today.
Yep. And they feel that, yes, there's $2.2 million anyway left in costs. And we're going to meet again tomorrow, I think, with somebody, Ziad. So that seems like that will work. There was one, the latest couple of wrinkles. One of them was that the trust actually is considering putting the sewer force loan into permanent financing in November, which I thought was early. But the two conditions are, have you expended 50% of your loan authorization, and the town has, and are you more than 50% done with the project? And we are. So therefore, they can roll it into permanent financing, and the town still has 2 years to actually complete the project and exhaust the authorization. However, the loan authorization is for $12,898, and I would like to see that reduced by the $2.2 million, and it may even come in lower than that because the project came in lower. So I spoke with the trust, went back and forth, and I came up with 2 options. They can either just not put us in this pool in November, just wait, put us in a future pool, or we could just reduce the authorization with 2.2, and if this ends up being a debt exclusion, we'd still have to use a 2.2 towards the project. So the trust today said they're going to put off the permanent financing for a year. So that's good. The problem is, it's not a problem, but the next issue is the $17.8 million was done with a debt exclusion borrowing. The sewer force main project was done with sewer rates. So the sewer rates went up $1.50 100 cubic feet for sewer last year, and they're expected to go up $1.25 per 100 cubic feet this year. But if we're not borrowing the whole 12.898, I don't think we need to go up that full amount. So the problem or the issue I'm trying to get resolved right now is bond counsel said that this 2.2 million really needs to be a debt exclusion. Our town council says, no, I don't think it does. I think you can use rates. So I'm waiting for an answer on that, because since we've already projected rate increases to cover the 12.898, I would rather borrow the 2.2 million with rates, because we've already factored in the increase, rather than a debt exclusion, which increases taxes a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
But either way that it goes, we can do the 2.2 from ARPA towards the sewer force main project. We can put an article on for 2.2 borrowing. It's just whether or not it's going to be a debt exclusion. So tonight, the board is voting the ballot questions for the Whitman Middle School and for this 2.2 million. We may not end up needing it, the ballot question, if it's decided that we can borrow with rates. We'll only have until Friday to pull the ballot question. We'd have to have another quick meeting with the board for 5 minutes and just rescind the vote tonight.
Okay.
But the clerk must have the ballot question by Friday.
Are she gonna be here?
She said she would come in.
Ooh, special.
But town council said, go ahead and vote the ballot question. If you don't need it, it may end up on the ballot. And that may be just a little bit confusing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm struggling with right now. However, I think that the 2.2 million, reducing the sewer force and going out for the other borrowing, makes sense. It really does make sense. And one thing I found that was interesting is just looking at the debt. We had originally calculated like the average of the $17.8 million borrowing. I believe it was like 255. That was the average, and we're not borrowing level debt. We're borrowing level principal. But that was at 4% at the time when we calculated that a year ago. So I had our FA run new schedules for 17.8 million if we go out and borrow now, and 20 million, the extra 2.2 million. And this time, he said because of the rate environment, and we're very close to borrowing, he would figure them at 3.75. That's what things have been going for, a little less. So for the 17.8 million, the first year is 352, goes down to 170 in 20 years, and the average is 233.11. And the 20 million starts at 395, goes down to 191, and the average is 261.92.
Now that's on the tax rate?
That's
On
if
the
it's a
water.
debt exclusion.
Debt.
That's on the tax rate.
Okay.
So if it were a debt exclusion, we're only talking about $10 more than what we told people a year ago
Yeah.
for the extra 2.2 million. But hopefully we can do it within rates.
Yeah.
But it's if the board would go along with the 2.2 million for ARPA, from ARPA to go to the sewer force main. I calculate between what Dennis comes up with and the 2.2, we would have funds of 3,343,271.15, which is in excess of the shortfall of 54,511.15, and that doesn't take into consideration if you guys change the gravel on the soil. I mean, on the parking lot.
Right. All those. Yep.
So in tonight's selectmen's meeting,
Yes.
you still want to vote that article?
It's not the. I'm not voting
Not
any
the
articles,
article,
but the
but-
ballot.
About,
The town's attorney said, vote it so that you're not missing your deadline.
Okay.
Justin said, should we not vote it and call a meeting real quick on Friday? But we're not sure we're going to know because the town's attorney reached out to the Municipal Finance Board, Oversight Board, and they only meet on Thursdays. And she sent this out to them last Thursday. So she said they're probably going to discuss it this Thursday. She doesn't know if they'll get back to her Thursday or next Thursday.
so if we voted to be put on the
ballot.
Ballot. Well, it has to go to a town meeting first, right? Voted at town meeting?
There's an article that would be voted at town meeting, but I can adjust that if it's not through a debt exclusion to say rates before
Right.
we print.
But what I'm guessing is that there's no way we can't say pass over at town meeting because we don't need to borrow because we have money. It's still going to be on the ballot.
Correct. If we don't remove it by Friday, if we vote it tonight and the town's attorney says tomorrow, you don't need to do a debt exclusion, do it through rates, we can hold a quick Zoom meeting for 10 minutes and say we want to rescind the ballot. And that has to be done Friday. If it's after Friday, it will appear on the ballot. Even
When
if
does
we
she
don't.
call it
Need
in?
it.
When does she call in the ballot printing of the ballots?
She's already has a prototype of the high school based on the
So
draft.
we have to have it done. We have to call a Zoom meeting like at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Oh no, I think that we would have Friday during the day. It doesn't have to be 9, could be 3:30.
Well, no, I'm thinking as early as possible. So, I mean, give her so she has no excuse to say it was too late.
Oh yeah, she won't. She
don't
wouldn't
know.
do that because she
Or as
said
late, yeah, I guess, or late as possible to wait to see if we get
Right.
She
if we
doesn't
get
want it on the
if we
ballot.
get any information from the finance board. I mean, that's the other side of it. Wait till later in the day and maybe you get a phone call from that the finance board did talk about it, and you get a
But she'll have a lot of questions at the clerk's office and the day of the election.
So, just kind of in a nutshell, because
Put an FAQ
that's
board
kind
up.
of a long way around. So people at town meeting will look at it as you're going to take 2.2 ARPA money, you're going to put that towards the sewer work on Auburn Street, and then you're going to use the sewer rates, and we're going to help pay for that loan on Auburn Street to pay for the 2.2 shortfall.
Possibly, if we can do
To
it through
contribute
rates.
to the cost of the occupancy of the building. It's an indirect charge.
Right.
And it's appropriate that the enterprise would pay a portion of that. I don't know if you folks are aware of it, but a birdie told me today that an interesting email went out yesterday. A copy of the selectmen's agenda. I'm trying to open it. Bear with me, I'm not very good at this. Here we go. It was addressed to the Whitman Education Alliance. Parent citizen support needed Tuesday at 7 p.m. at tomorrow's meeting. Our select board will discuss the following agenda item. Discuss appropriation of additional funds for a new DPW building and consider whether to include this as debt exclusion on the upcoming 10:30 special town meeting and 11:04 special town election. Placing this additional funding item on the town meeting and town election schedule specifically to fund the new middle school reads a lot like sabotage to the Whitman Middle School project. Please attend the meeting and take a moment to step up to the podium for public comment and ask our town officials to hold the DPW item for future consideration. Now, the person who shared this to me, but me obviously would not be a popular person to that group. That's okay. It's public record now. So that's why I'm not going to get into names. But as soon as I get out of this, I'm going to respond that basically what I said was, I guess perspective is a big thing. We've only been waiting for the DPW since 2008. And that's my answer to whatever is said.
Here comes the question.
So,
Hi.
I was peeking in.
Oh.
Before.
so the other option before, where there was some ARPA money that could be used towards the building.
A limited amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple.
Undesignated money.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of the 2.2.
Oh, it is.
It
yeah,
is part of the
yeah,
2.2.
that's part of the 2.2. That was 600,000 or
basically
700,000. So that's in the
Basically,
2.2.
we can cover because of the contaminated soil, we found ways of covering it. The increase, so it'll maintain the same. So what's the issue? I don't see an issue with it.
No, I mean, certainly with the 1.143 and the 2.2, we can use that, but if we're using that for the sewer force main project, we're reducing our borrowing, so we're just trading it over to borrow for the DPW.
Right.
We'd still have to borrow.
Right. Yeah.
It's just whether or not it will be the debt
We need-
exclusion or with
We're
rates.
trading debt.
We're trading the
Yeah.
authorization,
Yeah.
the borrowing capacity.
It's the same, right? Yeah.
Ask a
I
question.
don't see an issue.
Yes,
Let's say town council does come back and say you can use the rates.
right.
Don't you still need a warrant article at town meeting authorizing that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a town meeting, warrant, article, a motion, and a ballot. Right now set up as if it's a debt exclusion,
Right.
because that's how bond council wrote it. But town council does think that, and they sent an email off to the municipal finance oversight board.
So I think it's important when you talk about putting it on the ballot, that you explain all of what
Oh,
you
yeah.
just explained.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that we're doing it only because we have a deadline to meet.
It's a safety net.
A safety
Yeah.
net.
That's
And we're hoping to hear in the next 48 hours that it will be taken off the ballot. Right, we won't need it.
Right.
And it'll just be getting authorized to use the
In other words,
Sewer rates.
we'll need the appropriation of an election.
yeah,
Right.
okay.
Correct. And then what I'll do is just, modify the article,
Right.
either on the
It'd have to be
before or
amended
on the floor.
Won't have to be on the floor because when
Well, we haven't voted them yet. We're voting them on the 3rd, so it would be done before the 3rd.
Because you
Right.
still have a couple weeks.
We still have a couple weeks before the articles. Yeah.
when is the meeting?
What meeting?
When is the town meeting?
The 30th. October 30th and November 4th is the special town election.
So you're voting the articles on
October 3rd.
Well, you're still well within, you only need 2 weeks.
Right. I've gone over all the timelines with the clerk.
And in conjunction with that, we're still looking at potential cost savings. Talking with the engineer and, we can't do anything final with them because they don't
I
have a
should
contract.
blame it all on Cleary.
Value engineering.
You know what I mean? It's just, they're working on some numbers, but, we can't do anything concrete because we can't give them a contract, so they can't say, here's the exact, because we can't give anybody a contract. So,
By the way, did Nancy get back to you on the contract?
No, not yet. I
Yeah.
called her yesterday morning on the rates. The other thing too is the article for the school. I'm placing before the article for the DPW, and the ballot question for the school, I'm placing before the ballot question for the DPW, if there is one.
right. That makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
That's what.
That's the bigger project, obviously.
But
Okay.
wait a minute, the meeting is October 30th.
Yes,
The election is November 5th, 4th. There will be a ballot question because there's no way to turn it off.
You turn it off by Friday.
by Friday, don't
Friday.
say.
It's Friday.
Friday.
When you got here, she said they can meet Friday morning, as long as they hear back from town council saying we can do it with rates. They can meet Friday morning and take it off the
We can do
ballot.
a Zoom
No, I'm
meeting.
saying, all right, then your comment was specifically referencing DPW, not the whole process.
My comment on
Whether
Ballot
we need an
question.
election. You said whether we need an election. We need an election for the borrowing of the schools, no
Right.
matter what we do.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
We won't need it for hopefully we won't need it
For
for
the 2.2.
DPW.
DPW.
Right.
As soon as we think positive, hear back from the town council that we can do it with the sewer.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's the finance bureau. I mean, because town council has weighed in, they feel we can, but they're just looking for a
So-
second opinion or a
Was there a
second evaluation.
disagreement between Nancy and bond counsel?
Actually, bond counsel felt that we had to be very careful if we go with using rates. But that if we did feel that, right, because of the percentage and so forth. And I brought up, the indirect cost, argument and so forth. And I had told him last time we spoke that it's at least 50% of the DPW that handles water and sewer services, from equipment, everything they do, personnel, whatever. But then in talking to Nancy, she said 17 million for the overall project and 2.2 being 13%, but of course it's lower than that because the project's higher. But then we did use the $1,098,000 out of retained earnings to consider, but still it's about 15%. It's not even close to 50%. And what she had found, she thought that bond counsel was probably correct when she did her research until she found a document from the UMA system, from going out to auditors,
Right.
saying that, the percentages, and you just have to be careful. But she said she did try to look for some municipalities
We
that did
we
like
went
the
through all
general.
that like 25 years ago
Did you? Yeah.
when we started doing the indirect costs, because people didn't understand why we had indirect costs. And that's why we do it the way we do. We raise it in Article 2,
General
and then
fund.
we credit it
Yep.
on the back end, which causes us to raise more money than we'd otherwise have to if we could simply take it off the budget, but that's the process.
That's the way.
And I lost that battle, and I knew I wasn't going to win it, so there was no point in fighting.
The other item we got to deal with, and I never heard anything from Neil, we need to get letters out to the general and all the foul sub-bidders. I don't know if that's what you were
That's why we
referencing.
want the contract.
With Nancy.
Campany was going to prepare, edit the contract she prepared for the bid project,
Okay.
bid process, that reflected an agreement that while the contract is being signed by both parties, it's not in full force and effect until and unless
Okay.
we receive the approval for the additional funds, because without it, we don't have the budget.
Right. In August, I didn't go to the last joint meeting because we had executive session, but the one before that, I did send the email right out to Page Builders and said, congratulations, you are the lowest bidder, you've been awarded as the lowest bidder. However, tentative and was a deficit we're trying to work out with all the boards and committees. So yes,
Well,
and I'll
Neil-
call.
Well, it's
Neil
just
says-
by law, they only have to hold their pricing for 30 days.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we're
And
right
Neil's sense was,
at that.
if we produce a document that references that agreement, it's a legitimate extension of the 30 days because it's been acknowledged by all.
Right.
Otherwise, they could just walk away and say, yeah, we changed the line.
Right.
Right.
Do the job.
And that's actually if we get, because then the GC can have that contract trickle down to all the foul sub-bidders. Because that's the other, we have 12 or 14 foul sub-bidders that really bid the job to us.
Right. Right.
But if we can get the GC on into that contract,
That's an
then
interesting sound.
you can let that trickle down. So
Okay, yep.
I think that's
I gather
Sounds
there.
like
Do we need to vote on anything
Or
at this
sooner
point?
than later.
Do we have anything to
Do
vote
Do we have to
on?
vote on anything?
I don't think there's anything to vote. I think it was just kind of an update where we're at. And,
Yeah. Okay. Where we're going with it?
Yeah, we were asked to try harder last meeting, so
like I said, I mean, we're still.
Right.
I mean, there's still
money.
amongst all this. Like I said, I think there's still some cost savings that we can do without affecting the size of the building, the shape. I
Yeah.
mean, taking away from the building itself. That is still on the table as well.
Quick.
We don't.
We can't commit.
I can't give numbers because we don't have contracts, so we can't
Right.
say, well, how much is that going to save us?
Okay, we got 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
What do you have?
Okay.
6 minutes. Gotta go.
So, building committee will adjourn to the selectmen's meeting.
7:54.
Whitman DPW committee, 9:26. Approximately 7:26, just adjourned from the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn the DPW building committee meeting.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.